I'm here with my mom and my best friend. They are going to be my audience for today's speech, and I will be discussing the impact of my kindergarten teacher. 2 blue eyes and a J. Crew sweater. The first day of kindergarten. Fear and anxiety filling my little 4-year-old body as I walk into a new terrain. What am I going to do? Clinging on to my mother's legs, my tears on her shirt, nothing can make this feeling go away. Then I walked through the doors of my kindergarten classroom, and 2 big blue eyes and a pink J. Crew sweater were welcoming me into a new chapter. I suddenly felt at ease. Mrs. Wyrith, my very first teacher. Throughout the recent years of viewing life through an adult's perspective, there have been many whys and hows involving my character and what has helped to shape me. Whilst typically forgotten, kindergarten is one of the most overlooked school years, despite the fact that it challenges a child to think beyond their fixed routine. It marks the end of our formative years and the start of our educational years. As a nanny and childhood development major, I have focused a lot of my attention on studying the development of young children and just how much each individual aspect impacts a child's growth. While Mrs. Wyrith has not only inspired me to become a teacher myself, she's dramatically influenced my cognitive, physical, and social emotional development in my early years. Cognitive development, our ability to think and reason, begins in the womb and continues throughout our lives. However, our kindergarten year firmly influences this development. The consistency brought by my kindergarten teacher to strongly build these skills, which are major building blocks necessary for a child's overall development, allowed for her students to excel. One of the expected development skills for a kindergarten student is their memory. By repeatedly sending us home with what we called Bob books, Miss Wyrith was able to ensure that her students, including myself, would be able to continue their learning and development outside of the classroom. Craft focused, Miss Wyrith made sure that our class focused on learning through art and expression, and in the long run, we were able to memorize colors and numbers through various craft activities. Another necessary development of a kindergarten student is the ability to problem solve. I think back to a memory that I have of Vance Peterson, a sweet little boy who I had known my whole life, taking the toy I was playing with, and the thing that stands out the most in the memory is 2 big blue eyes and another shade of J. Crew, inspiring me to find an alternative solution. Confined in the 4 walls of my classroom, I peer out the window, my eyes as drenched as the playground. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day, said Miss Wyrith, and the rain from my eyes dried up. Physical development. The development of our bodies and motor skills is a vital part of our kindergarten experience. Our motor skills are classified in 2 categories, fine and gross, which Ms. Wyrith made sure to be diverse in our activities, practicing motor skills of all kinds. Gross motor skills are what we define as larger muscle movements, such as running and climbing. Ms. Wyrith ensured we ran for 10 minutes each day when the weather allowed, helping us to refocus and improve our running skills. Climbing is also an important skill that children usually learn from a young age by going to the park with their parents. However, Ms. Wyrith challenged each student to ensure they would excel in development. Fine motor skills are what we describe as our hand-eye coordination of our smaller muscles. By having lots of intriguing puzzles for every kid to play with, ranging in difficulty, she was able to challenge students based on their level of development, otherwise known as DAP, developmentally appropriate practices. I am also reminded to this day of just how well she developed my fine motor skills due to the tiny paper angel craft with a picture of my face that sits atop my mother's Christmas tree every year. Social emotional development refers to a child's ability to create and sustain meaningful relationships with others, as well as regulate emotions and respond appropriately. Leading by example, Mrs. Wyrith showed us every day just how important it is to understand our emotions, be kind to others, and build vital relationships. Our society is rooted in our ability to work with one another, and therefore developing social skills from a young age is one of the most important things that we can do. Morning circle was one of the first things we did every day, and while at the time I might not have been able to see just how much it impacted me, Mrs. Wyrith consistently followed through, encouraging us to speak out and get involved in conversation, whether we danced, talked, or learned. I can see that now. At our age, jump roping was the coolest thing I had ever seen. However, I was unbelievably shy to go up to the bigger girls and ask to join. After observing me wanting to play, Ms. Wyrith constantly encouraged me to make new friends, even though I was scared. Emotional development is very tricky as children are overly emotional and lacking self-regulation. Nevertheless, it is important to focus attention on this development. Many children struggle with confidence and making new friends, but Mrs. Wyrith instilled what she called our rotating buddy system, which was an assigned friend to eat lunch with, allowing students to get to know each other. By teaching us to understand our own emotions, Ms. Wyrith helped us see things from other perspectives. She helped me build empathy for my classmates, which remains one of my most valued traits to this day. In conclusion, kindergarten is one of the most vital years in our educational journey, and having the loving, nurturing teacher that I was blessed with impacted my life to come. While Mrs. Wyrath has not only inspired me to become a teacher myself, she dramatically influenced my cognitive, physical, social, and emotional development skills in my early years. I hope that one day I can become half the teacher she was to me, and who knows, maybe you'll hear a speech about 2 green eyes and a J. Crew sweater.